Cool. Hey everybody, see if I can find us, if we're out there. No, not quite. Maybe. How you feeling, Chloe?
Trepidatious.
Trepidatious, yeah. I know what you mean.
It's all a bit strange and unfamiliar.
Yeah, what a day, hey? What a day. What a day, what a week, what a month, what a year, what a decade. No, I'm not there, Chloe.
Not yet?
Well, not yet, or something's gone wrong a bit.
See what it's saying.
Usually it just takes a minute for me to find us. We're probably there. Hello.
Says Carol Dover is watching.
Oh, hello. Good. Good. We are there. Oh, there we are. All right. Okay. Good to see you, Carol. And yeah. All
It's
right.
going.
It is going, but it's a bit distracting because it's a bit behind. But anyway, welcome to 2021 in the Roworth House. Here we are in Millthorpe. Welcome to anyone who's new. My name is Jason and that's Chloe, if you're wondering which is which.
How you going?
And yeah, here we are in Millthorpe, if you're wondering where we are. We're in Wiradjuri country, most importantly. Sydney's about 200 kilometres behind you there, and that's the north. Yeah, Wiradjuri land, we feel very, very lucky. Pretty much every day we sort of give a word or two of thanks to for being able to call this part of the world home. It's been home for a long time and for generations, but I think we are very, very lucky to live in not just a country, but the kind of influence of the Wiradjuri culture is looming large again, and the language is being spoken, and we're very pleased about that. So, thank you, and to anyone Wiradjuri people out there. I know we occasionally get a few old mates tuning in, and any other First Nations people anywhere. Our respects. Thank you. Yeah, Millthorpe has been a home for a long time. We've had a nice break from the Saturday streaming, but we thought it was about time with everything the way it is.
Yeah.
That we'd have another sing.
All back in our boxes?
Yeah, we are a bit. New South Wales more so, and yeah, sorry we've spread it a little bit around the country. We're a little leaderless here in New South Wales. You may have noticed. Call it a catastrophic failure of leadership, and in time I hope all that comes out. But we won't mention that too much tonight. We'll get on with it. Saturday streaming, we've just come up with a list of some things that we feel might be nice to play. In this first one, we learnt at Wombat.
That's right.
Little town just near Young, little Wombat Folk Festival. I don't know if anyone ever saw that festival, but that was one of our very first folk festival bookings, and the Harvest Moon Band were there with Greg O'Leary and Alan Musgrove, Jim Moyer, and Julia Arnold too, and they were the best band in the world. They still are, probably, if they ever got back together. That CD's amazing, Harvest Moon, if you're looking. And we play all the songs off that record.
That band, I can still remember the feeling of hearing that band for the first time. Something else.
So we have, this song, I remember Greg sang it, and I just kind of, I don't know what I thought bush music was. I thought I knew, and then I heard this song, and I went up to Greg and kind of said something embarrassingly gushing about how good it had been. And he said, yeah, it's the best Australian bush song ever. And I think you might be right. It's Reedy Lagoon.
Smelling wattle blows perfume around, enticing the bird and the bee. While I lie here at rest on a fern-covered nest in the shade of a courage oak tree, and high overhead I can hear the sweet strains of a butcher bird piping her tune. The spring in her glory has come once again to the banks of the reedy lagoon. My swag I have carried last season, God knows. My cooking utensils, I'm sorry to say, consist of a knife and a spoon. But there's bread, beef and tea in a battered Jack Shay on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. And where is the lady I've often caressed, the one with the deep dreamy eyes? She pillows her head on some other man's breast while he tells her the very same lies. I doubt now that she would be willing to share as I eat by the light of the moon. But it's little I care, for it's hard to keep square on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon. And Jackie the breaker, now couldn't he ride? And Jimmy the kind-hearted boy, well, I hear that of late he has taken a bride, a Benedict's life to enjoy. And Big Jock the stockman, I once heard him say, he'd wrestle the famous Muldoon. But they're all far away, and I'm lonely today on the banks of the Reedy Lagoon.
Greg and mine, when I was Greg O'Leary, that is. Lots of memories of Wombat. It was a fantastic little festival. I see Margaret Walters. Hello, Marg. We've missed you
Hi.
too.
Yeah.
Missed you too. Yeah, that's right. That's right. There were so many great memories at Wombat. Yeah, I won't tell Eddie's stories now. They're all too long. But cheers, everybody. And it is good to be back, sort of with you.
We were young and impressionable at that point. I remember we sat down on the veranda and we listened to Alan and Greg. They were sessioning away and they looked at us and said, "Your turn, you sing a song." And we sang one of our songs that we'd written very earnestly, and Greg played the most amazing fiddle. Oh, and we sat there gobsmacked afterwards, and Alan says, "Yeah, he can play well in the bullshit style." He said.
What a lesson. What a lesson. You got to love the folkies. We're very lucky. For those who are coming in from outside the folk family, we are folkies, yeah. So about maybe a quarter or a fifth of our gigs every year are amongst the folk crowd, with the big folk festivals or little folk clubs around the place, big folk clubs around the place. And whilst we do a lot of other gigs as well, from the back of trucks to the cafes in Paddington or whatever it is, but yeah, we are folkies wherever we go, and whatever we're doing, we're playing that sort of music and with that sort of heart. Yeah, that's right. We're going to do a song now, I guess, coming back into the winter here, and Millthorpe's pretty cool at the moment. Snow coming tomorrow again. We love a snow day here, very happy. But normally in the winter, lately we've been going up to play in Gulgong. the Gulgong, for those who are a bit further away, is kind of local for us, a couple of hours away. And it's a very special place, Gulgong, with a long folky history, long bush music club history, even longer, with connections to people like Duke Tritton and John Meredith. Going back a little way, of course, the great connection to Henry Lawson, and we'll get to that in just a minute. The great festivals, and the Prince of Wales Opera House.
The most beautiful place to play and sing. And built back when Henry Lawson was just a wee tyke.
And so normally we'd be up there. I think through the winter, I've been playing in the Opera House. We've put on shows there the last few years as part of the Henry Lawson Festival. So we're thinking of places we normally go and aren't at the moment. But this is another connection to Gulgong is through John Dengate, and this is one of John's songs. It's the Gulgong song, no less, and after that we'll go into a couple of tunes from Gulgong as well. The Jackass Eat It on the way, and we'll get to Bruce Smith's. But remember what John used to do? He'd play you the tune. He'd say, and he'd pin you with his eyes, and he'd say, "What tune's that?" And you hoped you knew. And even if you knew, you might forget or not be game to put up your hand anyway. But if you knew, you might have a shot. If you didn't know, you'd hide behind the head. You know?
Without appearing to do so.
But of course, with that tune, he would have said, "Oh, that's Rosin the Bow." Rosin the Bow, someone would have said. John, of course, Dengate always used to say that a good tune is far too important and good to be used for just one set of words. So they wrote that wonderful Australian song, the Catalpa, using the right tune for the Fenians. And just go, gosh, that's the story, the Catalpa. But we're not doing the Catalpa.
No, we're not doing the Catalpa.
We're doing
today.
the Gulgong song.
That's right.
So for those who are a little further away, welcome to our place. So Fala, Hill and Juina, stories shall always be told, and none can deny our allure and a place in the story of gold. But written in nuggets of pie, clay, home rule and Canadian lead, the glittering history of Gulgong is there for Australia to read. Yes, loud were the shouts and the laughter as diggers with joy unrestrained, they went paddling around in the gutter and picking up gold when it rained. But written in nuggets of pipe clay, home rule and Canadian lead, all the glittering history of Gulgong is there for Australia to read. And in gravel, gleaming in quartz and in love. Well, gold was the pillar of Gulgong, and Gardner was king of the road. All it written in nuggets of pipe clay, home rule and Canadian lead. The glittering history of Gulgong is there for Australia to read. Take a look. Days of the diggings, and then when our memories grow dim, we'll take down the volumes of Lawson and share the last bottle with him. But written in nuggets of pipe clay, home rule and Canadian lead, all the glittering history of Gulgong is there for Australia to read. Yes, it was written in nuggets of pipe clay, home rule and Canadian lead, all the glittering history of Gulgong is there for Australia to read. The Jackass two tunes there from the Golgong area. The Golgong tune in particular, that one, the Jackass Eat It on the Way. We've played that tune for an awful long time, eh? Probably even before the band Collector, maybe 25 years. We've had that one in the repertoire, and for a long while we wondered what the Jackass ate, and Chloe guessed it.
Yep.
We finally found that it was a tune taken from a song, and there was actually some words, so Chloe was right.
And it was the wedding cake.
The wedding cake.
Yeah.
There's a picture for you. The Jackass ate the wedding cake on the way, I assume, to the wedding.
That would have gone down well.
Hi Pauline, thank you. Thank you for coming along again and for helping out. That reminds me, these are free shows, but we're going to run them the same as we did last year. I hope that's working for you. It's certainly working for us. The support's great. We're just trying to make sure that people can come and listen and be part. And yeah, if you want to throw in a little bit in the hat, then the website's the place for a donation or an album order. And thank you to those people who've chipped in a bit already. Some big bits too, which is really, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but
It does make a big difference. I tell you what, we've just, all the gigs have disappeared again.
Yes, I know. Well, you know that. You know that.
They're gone.
Hi, Roz. Oh, more memories of Golgong, Bob Bolton. Gosh, thinking of Bob all the time these days. And John, during the festival in a hotel court. Yeah, you can see that. That's fantastic. Thanks, Roz. Oh, hi, Emma. Hi, you're in awe of the library. Thanks. It's nice to have some company. It does feel good. It does feel good. Take down the volumes of Lawson and share the last bottle with him. Henry Lawson, if you've heard me before, you've probably heard me say it. When I was a kid and all the way through my life, Henry Lawson was ours. It's our Henry. No other writer or poet came to that mark. I grew up on a lot of different places. I had 17 changes of school, but I spent quite a bit of time very close to Lawson's home country on a farm, and they were formative years. Importantly, I think it was my 15th of my 17 changes of school, but I was there for a couple of years on the farm, always on the farm. And I think he got our language right. He spoke the way we spoke, at least then. I guess our language is changing fast, but but what really struck me was the way he could put you in someone else's heart really quickly or inside their head. So we claimed him. We just said he was ours. I don't think we ever stopped to think about what Henry Lawson himself might have thought about that. But over the last couple of years, we've come up with a...
Well, we were his. I mean, where else did he get all his material from?
That's true. That's true. So here's a medley of two things. So the song Chloe will sing for you is from a poem of Henry's from 1905. If you've ever thought, no, Henry Lawson was terrible after the turn of the century, don't read any of that stuff. That's just so off the mark you wouldn't believe. Go looking and you'll find his best work was way ahead of him still, I think. And this is the soul of a poet. And he does tell you a little bit about how he felt. But we'll introduce that song, which basically we took the melody from a Joe Yates tune. So another local tune from...
The Wedding of Lachlan McGraw, I think.
But we've panel beaten it beyond recognition, but that one. Yep. Yeah, it's a good tune, a robust tune. Hi, St Albans. God, talk about heartache, St Albans. Hello. Missing that festival too. But we'll introduce the soul of a poet with another piece of Henry's work from later in his life, where he really does tell you how he felt about kind of being claimed and what he kind of thought his role was. You always say it kind of tells you that Henry did reside in a pub too, and we know that. We know he was a larger-than-life character and a kind of Peter Pan character who had a kind of eternal youth and always said poems for the kids and in the pubs, of course, always with a beer. Just struck me that my mug, which goes with me everywhere. Neil Randall made this beautiful Henry Lawson mug, and it's a quote from The Soul of a Poet.
It is.
Yeah.
Hang on, you've got to show the other side too.
Sorry,
if you're going to do that, there you go. It's Henry.
So, yeah, The Soul of a Poet. Before that, will you write it down for me? In the parlour of the shanty, where the lives have all gone wrong, when a singer or reciter gives a story or a song, where a poet's heart is speaking to their hearts in every line, till the hardest curse and blubber at the thoughts of Auld Lang Syne. Then a boozer lurches forward with an oath for all the skies, prayers and curses in his soul, and tears and liquor in his eyes. He grasps the singer or reciter with a death grip by the hand. Yeah, that's the truth, bloke. Sling it at him. Oh, God blimey, that was grand. Don't mind me. I've got him. Well, you know. Well, what's your name, bloke? Don't you see? Oh, who's the bloke what wrote the poetry? Will you write it down for me? And the Backblocks bard goes through it, ever seeking as he goes for the line of least resistance to the hearts of many no's. And he tracks them out in mateship, and he tracks them out alone, seeking for the power to sway them, till he finds it in his own, feels what they feel, loves what they love, and he learns to hate what they condemn. He takes his pen in tears and triumph, and he writes it down for them.
I have written long years, I have written for the sake of my people and right. I was true when the iron had bitten deep into my soul in the night. I wrote not for praise nor for money, I craved but the soul in the pen, and I felt not the sting in the honey of writing the kindness of men. You read and you saw without seeking, my words seemed a trifle apart, while the truth of things thrilled through my being, and the wrong of things murdered my heart. But cast out, despised and neglected, and weak and in fear and in debt, my songs mutilated, rejected, shall ring through the commonwealth yet. In the peace of your comfort and pride, you have mocked at my bodily vileness, you have tempted and cast me aside, but wronged and cast out, drink sodden, but shunned and insane and unclean. I have dared where few others have trodden, I have seen what few others have seen. I have seen your soul bad for a season, I have heard what a deaf man can hear. I've seen you deprived of your reason, and stricken with deadliest fear. But when beautiful night hid the shocking black shame of the day that was past, I felt the great universe rocking with the truth that was coming at last.
Yeah, I miss being out amongst you, and especially when I think of the kind of things that are being mentioned there, like St Albans and Gulgong, but just generally we're missing the gigs full stop. And one of the other things we've done every winter over the past few, except last year of course, when the virus first impacted, was to go out to Bourke for various lengths of time, to go out to Bourke to be part of the Poets' Trek, where we were lucky, goodness gracious, in the best of company. Thank you, Andrew Hull, and co, but Hully especially. various treks out to Bree, down the river to Louth via Terrell Woolshed, up to Hungerford, tracing the footsteps of Henry Lawson. Megan's always keen to remind me that we followed the footsteps of Henry Lawson in an air-conditioned four-wheel drive, but there we were.
You do what you can.
You do what you can. And we love Bourke, and we miss it, and we'll get there again. The poetry on a plate, which has been, well, what a great thing it is. Yeah, we love Bourke. And this poem is one of Henry's set from his time in Bourke, out there, on the grog. He sent out to Bourke by Archibald with a £5 note and a one-way train ticket. Hint, hint. Get yourself something to write about. Great. Work well. Get off the grog. Less successful.
Not likely. Yeah.
What did he say when he wrote back in his first letter, within days, he wrote back to his auntie and he said, "Even the women shout."
How are you supposed to get anywhere?
It's my kind of town. So this is the Army Praise for Watty. It was a favourite of Chloe's dad's. It's a wonderful poem, and we've kind of set it to music using a tune that we used to play in the Wonga Willie band called the Moon and Flat Set Tune. Where's that one from, Chloe? Moon and Flat. True question. It's hard to know why this poem is so appealing, but I like it very much. Say good day if you're out there. We hope it's all. As I mentioned in the post earlier, we've prayed to the technology gods, made our sacrifices. We are very open to suggestions about what we do from here on in, but they moved the goalpost the technology on us so many times last year, we just couldn't catch up. So we're thinking maybe we'll still push it and hopefully get Facebook, you guys, interested and involved, but maybe YouTube can be more solid and hold us in an interactive way. I'd love to be talking to you more freely and not just kind of wondering if you're there. So the Moon and Flat Set Tune, and When the Army Prays for Watty. When the kindly hours of darkness, save for light of moon and star, hide the picture on the signboard of Doherty's Horse Bazaar. When the last rose tint is fading on the distant moulder scrub, then the army prays for Watty at the entrance of his pub. Now I often sit at Watty's when the night is very near, with a head that's full of jingles and the fumes of bottled beer. For I always have a fancy that if I am over there when the army prays for Watty, well, I'm included in the prayer. Watty lounges in his armchair, it's all the custom place, with a fatherly expression on his round and passive face. And his arms are clasped before him in a kind, contented way, and he nods his head and dozes when he hears the army pray. And I wonder, does he ponder on the distant years and dim, or his chances over yonder, where the army prays for him? Has he not a fear connected with that warm place down below, where according to the good Christians, all the publicans should go? But his features give no token of a feeling in his breast, save of peace that is unbroken, and a conscience well at rest. And we guzzle as we guzzled long before the army came, and the loafers wait for shouters, and they get there just the same. Oh, it would take a lot of praying, lots of thumping on the drum, to prepare our sinful, straying, erring souls for kingdom come. But I love my fellow sinners, and I hope upon the whole that the army gets a hearing and it prays for what is sold. I love that poem. Yeah, so Mark's just pointed out there was Chris Kempster that introduced her to When the Army Prays for What, and that's probably the first place I ever heard it as well. Really, it was Chloe's dad's, Brian's, love of that poem that kind of dragged me into wanting to do it. And so it's a very recent setting for us. Looks like our guest performers are ready, and I believe our big daughter Megan is going to go first. Come on in, dear.
In the interests of fairness, I think I'll do a Banjo Patterson one.
Yeah, well, you see, we're just
Even
talking.
things out a little.
I think it's only fair. We're just talking about the Poet's Trek, and one of the treks was out to Bree, and we saw the Barwon, which has a feature in this poem of banjos. But
You know, it didn't originally have
No.
a feature.
but what it does feature is Walgett Town. So cheers to you in Walgett Town if you're listening in from the great northwest. Hope you're getting some of this great wet winter that we're getting here. I think you probably are, maybe. Anyway, off you go. Welcome.
There came a stranger to Walgett Town, when the sun was low, and he carried a thirst that was worth a crown. But how to quench it, he didn't know. But he thought he might take those yokels down, the guileless yokels of Walgett Town. And they made him a bet in a private bar, when the talk was high, and they bet him some pounds, that no matter how far he could pelt a stone, that he could not shy a stone right over the river, so brown, that's the Barwon River, near Walgett Town. And he knew that river, from bank to bank, was 50 yards, so he smiled a smile as he trundled down, but his hopes they sank, 'cause there wasn't a stone within 50 mile. For the saltbush plain, the open down produced no quarries near Walgett Town. And the yokels laughed at his hopes all thrown, and he stood a while like a man in a dream. Then out of his pocket he fetched a stone, and he pelted it over the silent stream. He'd been there before. He'd wandered down on a previous visit to Walgett Town.
Well done, Digger. Thank you. That was one of the first poems I learnt too. Megan actually probably stole it off me, I'm thinking,
Yep.
line by line as I
Line
worked
by
it out.
line.
Oh, hi! Look who's here. I was going to say something first, but doesn't matter. Oh, it's just nice to hear Megan reciting again. It doesn't happen often enough in the house. That's not to say she's not reading or writing. Joanna, you're here. What have you got for us today?
I got a poem for you Facebook friends.
Oh, okay.
What do you suppose a bee sat on my nose with a thicky give a wink? I said, I beg your pardon. I thought you were a garden.
Hey.
Come on, folks.
Do you want-
Wait, what?
Oh, that's a lovely poem. But you want to do one? Okay. You want to do something else?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Good
Good who?
night. Bye.
Okay. Hey, Sam. Hey, and it's nice to see you. We find funny language appearing in these online things. To see you, I can't see you, Sam, but it's good to see you. Still in that little flat there in Jamroo, I'm guessing. It's the funniest story in the world, but we won't go there. All right, okay. We're going to go off to Sydney town. Sydney's in the news at the moment. Sydney's in the news for all the wrong reasons. I've said it already, and I'll say it again. As a New South Welsh man, I feel very sorry that that our catastrophic failure of leadership has impacted the rest of the country as it has. We were doing so well, and now we're not. Oh,
There, that was a mouse.
yeah. You know, we're in the Central West at the moment, and yeah, you're probably aware of the mouse plague. We don't have a mouse plague here, but we've got plenty of pets that we didn't have. A couple of the little native things, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They are beautiful.
And if you click your fingers, they jump, which is vastly entertaining.
This is probably the earliest song from our repertoire. It's Seems to be a very early version of the song we might know as Dennis O'Reilly's, or With My Swaggle on My Shoulder, however you know it. Most of the versions I know talk about gold. That's what it's all about. But this one doesn't get there, and it just strikes me that, you know, I've just finished rereading for the third time. It's a 20-year-old book now, Leviathan by John Birmingham. And when I first read it, it blew me away. I read it again when I was overseas about 10 years ago, and it was even better. But this time round, it's shaken me to the core. It's an awesome read. I would recommend it to anyone who's, but particularly if you, like me, if Sydney is your city. if you know Sydney, then you know the stories. But to have them put together the way he has and told in such detail, and it's a very clever book. Anyway, so I've got Sydney on the mind. And Christina, sorry about Sydney marching today, mate. I'm sure we had some of our crew down there with you. I don't even want to think about it. I'm just really sorry. Yeah. I hope we're not in as much trouble as I feel we are, but here we are.
Back to the days of optimism. May they come
Yeah,
again.
I am pleased we snuck in just a handful of gigs at the end of last year, and some beautiful things this year when we thought they were sort of coming back a little. And I guess we'll get there again. In the meantime, here's Lad from Erin's Isle. Of Australia, true-born Irishman. When first I came to Sydney, the girls and me did smile, saying one and two the other, here's a lad from Erin's Isle. Well, I went down to a public house to spend an hour or two, and the daughter of the landlady, she fell in love with me. I'll do the best I can. I'll tramp the bush of Australia with my true-born Irishman. With a raggle on my shoulder, billy can in my hand. I'll tramp the bush of Australia with my true-born Irishman. So around the lighthouse now I tramp, nor leave it out of sight. My swag goes on me left shoulder, then I take it on me right. It's then I take it off me back, and often upon it I lie. It's the best of all, I tucker tracks, and upon it I should die. If I look a bit sort of smiley about playing at the moment, show me your finger, Chloe. That was
Yeah.
just before the big Bob Dylan shows that we
Oh,
did for Bob Dylan's
we got
birthday.
two gigs in 2 weeks. Like, it doesn't happen anymore. Jason's been playing for the school kids again quite regularly until the lockdown now. But I hadn't got to play, and we rehearsed up the great Bob Dylan cadenza, and I sliced my finger literally the day before. So I did much tamborining and singing at Bob Dylan, which was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I
we had.
actually enjoyed myself very
You
much.
did have 9 other Bobs up there to carry to the show.
It was the no
Nim-
pressure Bob gig. It was great.
Nimboida got a little bit more difficult.
And then we had a gig at Nimboida, where we were hoping to do all the things that we do, and I just played a lot of Borum and a concertina.
When Chloe says she sliced her finger, she really cut it. So the half the
Yeah,
callus and half
it was
the meat.
gone. Boom, perfect.
Anyway,
So
back
just now starting to play. A few days ago, finally starting to play.
guys, we're going to do a poem now. When I first, one of Henry's again. Henry wrote this when he was 21, and this one I just kind of gave Leviathan a great rave. John Birmingham's book, and it put this poem back firmly in my head. My nan and my great nan was Sydney people. I'm a Sydney person in a lot of ways. My family touched there. My great nan lived till after we were married, and she lived in Pitt Street and then in the Greenway flats, the big brown things on the north side of the Milsons Point there. Sydney is my city, and when I moved down there after school, running from Western New South Wales, chasing megastardom, playing psychedelic monster rock and roll, it was my city. I didn't have any problem adapting, but what did happen is coming down out of the bush, I just felt kind of enormous everywhere I went, and I'm not, but it's just the way you feel a little bit. Anyway, Nan was, my dear Nanny Pie, who was, looked after me a lot when I was a kid and when I was an adult as well.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. She was my best mate, and she talked about the depression in terms of getting her first pair of socks when she was 8, and the mean streets of inner Western Sydney around the turn of the century and into the depression were lethal, absolutely lethal, and it strikes me that there are, Twain says, history might not repeat, but it does rhyme. And I'm thinking how often through this COVID time we've made wrong choices based on class lines. Don't tell me that doesn't exist in Australia. I'm tired of people saying that class doesn't exist. You try and understand this country without understanding class. And whether it be in Melbourne and North Melbourne, or whether we're now looking at the southwest of Sydney, the double standards are extraordinary. One lovely commanding policeman, I'm going to misquote him, but paraphrase him, he said, "We're going to err on the side of safe rather than free," or whatever. It's just locking out options for people who have no information already. So I'll let you decide how much of this poem has changed, and maybe the geography has changed, maybe more than anything. Yeah, thanks, Henry.
It was on the side of severe rather than fair. Or something.
Yeah, sorry, I
mind,
might actually grab that
post
quote and
that
throw it.
afterwards.
Yeah, I will if you remind me. I'd like to get that quote right because it was so wrong. And not to mention the double standards. I'll plead, the artist case here, and the managers and the agents, the touring agents, the arts sector, as we know, employs far more people than mining does in this country, and it certainly employs more than the NRBL. I don't know. I know it's all about risk management, and I'm not an expert, but it seems to me that if we really want to get rid of this thing, we're either all in or we won't. They lie. The men who tell us, for reasons of their own, that want is here a stranger, and that misery is unknown. For where the nearest suburb and the city proper meet, my windowsill is level with the faces in the street drifting past to the beat of weary feet, while I sorrow for the owners of those faces in the street. And cause I have to sorrow in a land so young and fair, to see upon those faces stamped the marks of want and care. I look in vain for traces of the fresh and fair and sweet, in sallow, sunken faces that are drifting through the street, drifting on. Drifting on to the scrape of restless feet, I can sorrow for the owners of the faces in the street. In hours before the dawning dims the starlight in the sky, the wan and weary faces first begin to trickle by, increasing as the moments hurry on with morning feet, till like a pallid river flow the faces in the street, flowing into the beat of hurried feet. I sorrow for the owners of those faces in the street. And the human river dwindles when 'tis past the hour of 8, but its waves go flowing faster in the fear of being late. But slowly drag the moments, whilst beneath the dust and heat the city grinds the owners of the faces in the street, grinding body, grinding soul, yielding scarce enough to eat. I sorrow for the owners of the faces in the street. And then the only faces, till the sun is sinking down, are those of outside toilers and the idlers of the town, save here and there a face that seems a stranger in the street, tells of the city's unemployed upon his weary beat. He's drifting round to the tread of listless feet. My heart aches for the owner of that sad face in the street. And when the hours on lagging feet have slowly dragged away, and sickly yellow gas lights rise to mock the going day, then, flowing past my window like a tide in its retreat, again I see the pallid stream of faces in the street ebbing out to the drag of tired feet, while my heart is aching dumbly for the faces in the street. And now, all blurred and smirched with vice, the day's sad pages end. For while the short, large hours towards the longer, small hours trend, with smiles that mock the wearer and words that half entreat, Delilah pleads for custom at the corner of the street, sinking down, a battered wreck by tempest beat. A dreadful, thankless trade is hers, that woman of the street. But to dreader things than these our fair young city comes, for in its hearts are growing thick the filthy dens and slums, where human forms shall rot away in sties for swine unmeet, and ghostly faces shall be seen, unfit for any street, rotting out for lack of air and meat, in dens of vice and horror that are hidden from the streets. I wonder, would the apathy of wealthy men endure, were all their windows level with the faces of the poor? Mammon's slaves, your knees shall knock, your hearts in terror beat, when God demands a reason for the sorrows of the street, the wrong things and the bad things and the sad things that we meet in filthy lane and alley, in cruel, heartless street. I left that dreadful corner, where the steps are never still, and sought another window overlooking gorge and hill. But when the night came, dreary with the driving rain and sleet, they haunted me, the shadows of those faces in the street, flitting by with noiseless feet, and with cheeks but little paler than the real ones in the street. Once I cried, O God Almighty, if thy might doth still endure, now show me in a vision for the wrongs of earth a cure. And lo, with shops all shuttered, I beheld a city street, and in the warning distance heard the tramp of many feet coming near to a drum's dull, distant beat. And soon I saw the army that was marching down the street. Then like a swollen river that has broken bank and wall, the human flood came pouring with the red flags over all, and kindled eyes all blazing bright with revolution's heat, and flashing swords reflecting rigid faces in the street, pouring on to a drum's loud threatening beat, and the war hymns and the cheering of the people in the street. And so 't must be while I the world goes rolling round its course. The warning pen shall write in vain, the warning voice grow hoarse. But not until a city feels red revolution's feet shall its sad people miss awhile the terrors of the street, the dreadful everlasting strife for scarcely clothes and meat in that pent track of living death, the city's cruel street. Henry, there's not much more you can say. 21 now, I believe the story goes. He wrote most of that, started that, and got it mostly finished on Petersham Railway Station. Next time you're stuck on a railway waiting for a train.
Kind of all you need.
Yeah.
The whole explanation is there.
All right. We might keep a little bit of robustness going, and we'll sing a song from the Depression. We first learnt this song when Mick Fogarty in Canberra invited us to do a show with him at the National Folk Festival 20-something years ago. It was called From the Shop Floor to the Street. It was a terrific show. Seamus Gill was there, and we were there with Rog and Mike and all the collector guys and Mick. And yeah, we learnt a lot. But Mick gave us this song. It turns out the words of Dorothy Hewitt. It's a song called Norman Brown. And the version we were given just had a little sketchy melody. I believe, I don't know this for sure, but I believe the melody, the setting was from John Meredith. And this is the Ballad of Norman Brown. I think Dorothy wrote this in the early 60s, I'm going to say. But so a long time ago now, and really only 30 years after the event. And we sang the song. It's a song for a martyr, and that's how it's built. And we sang the song with that kind of feeling for a long time. And we actually sang the song again in Canberra at another gig. I wish I could remember where, but it was quite a big show. It might have been the Buttawang at the Nationals, or a sort of venue of that sort of big size. So you couldn't really tell much about who was out there in the audience. A little bit of the front couple of rows, that's it. And we sang the song, and afterwards it was there because the session bar was where Norman Brown's niece introduced herself to me. And she was in tears, of course, and whilst she appreciated all the sentiments in the song and so forth, and really understood where we were coming from and was sympathetic to the idea, she also showed us the human side of a martyr, you know, to have your uncle's name sort of at you all the time and used in that way. And yeah, it was all of a sudden the song took on
Personal aspect.
yes, a sadness as well. And anyway, it's Norman Brown. Got the singing tune just about. Oh, it's nice to be back, guys. Thank you for joining in. Hi, Pauline. Rhonda, hi, Rhonda. It's been nice to see you on Facebook a little bit. For all its sins, Fastbook does has it's pretty good once you get it all once you get your friends list kind of right. And yeah, I've really appreciated especially some of the old folk photos from kind of before our time. Love seeing that stuff. Norman Brown.
Norman Brown. Into 1929. The Depression was coming, and the mining bosses said they needed to cut wages by 12.5%, and the miners went out on strike. Well, no, they complained very loudly and were locked out, actually,
locked out,
to get it
they?
right.
Yeah.
And they were locked out for 15 months. No JobKeeper. And finally, they decided to get some scab labour and to get the mine going again. And the miners turned out in numbers, and the police got nervous. And Norman Brown ended up shot. He was just a young man sitting over the back up by the fence. You know, he was very unlucky. But he became a symbol from then on. He became a symbol for the strike, for the movement.
Hi, Matthew. It was a rant, wasn't it? I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's a sort of time where I thought we were going to play lots of happy songs, but really there's a bit of get off your chest stuff as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh, if Treasure and Trish are out, Trev and Trish are out there. I hope
Yeah, this is Trish's lino
If
print.
you're seeing this at any point, I might even send you a kind of note to say if you haven't joined in. The lino
fantastic.
print. And Ned Kelly and Glenn Rowan,
A larger than life.
larger than life Ned
It's great.
Kelly. It's a print, which meant that we ended up with Ned as a left-handed shooter, but I just think it makes it very special. I love that piece. It usually stays in the bedroom. Dance Glenrowan Dance, that's right. Yeah. Right, Norman Brown.
There was a very simple man, honest and quiet, yet he became the mate of every working man, and every miner knows his name. Norman Brown, oh Norman Brown, the murdering coppers, they shot him down. They shot him down in Roughbridge Town, a working man called Norman Brown. An honest man, the parson said, and dropped the clods upon his head. But honest man or not, he's dead, and that's the end of Norman Brown. The buzzards piped their hands inside. It is a pity that he died. It will inflame the countryside, and all because of Norman Brown. Norman Brown, oh Norman Brown, the murdering coppers, they shot him down. They shot him down in Roughbridge Town, a working man called Norman Brown. At guitar meetings and on strike, in every little mining town, where miners march for bread or wine, their march is honest Norman Brown. He thunders at the pit-top strikes, his voice is in the woman's tear, with banners carried shoulder high, he's singing down the struggling years. A miner's pick is in his hand, his song is shouted through the land that's free and broad and brown, the land that red is Norman Brown, oh Norman Brown, the murdering coppers, they shot him down. They shot him down in Roughbridge Town, to live forever. Norman Brown, oh Norman Brown, oh Norman Brown, the murdering coppers, they shot him down. They shot him down in Roughbridge Town, to live forever.
It came out at our last festival. I hope I don't mean that in the eternal sense, but the last festival we played before this, the Delta mistakes, at Nimboida. There've been some lovely folks from at Woodford about 6 or 7 years ago or something, and every year it would come up the June long weekend. Can you come to Nimboida? If you're not sure, just in from Grafton up into the hills. Cold. We couldn't even get away from home because the snow was like this, and we went up there and kind of froze. But it was a great festival, I thought.
It was a beautiful festival.
Especially for families, if you want just the best weekend away. The old style, you know. Music, sure. Yeah, poetry, absolutely.
Yeah.
But dogs
Kids
and
games.
fires and it's a camp ovens do, and I really enjoyed it. And one of the things which is a real highlight, was to be part of Ilona Harker's show that's developing,
fantastic.
and that's where that song came out again in the interest of that show. I won't say too much about that show, except I honestly was astounded at the story that we were told by Ilona as we, I love doing those shows where you really only practice the songs and then you're reacting real time.
Yeah. Watch out for it if Ilona gets to do it again. Story of the miners there up at Nimboida. It's fantastic.
All right.
And not just because of her character. She's pretty good.
I'm just going to do something I probably shouldn't do in a way, but I just want to thank, I don't even want to say name. There is a person who has supported us endlessly out there, and we can only say thank you here and there because you just get tired of saying it, but gosh, we are so lucky. And I happen to know that this person does appreciate, as we all do, a good bushranger song, and we thought we'd pick one of the ones with a vibrant and, for some, happy end. This is The Morning of the Fray. It's about that robbery at Yagara Rocks just out the road from here, where the Frank Gardner gang, as they called it, with Johnny Gilbert, maybe Ben Hall, sure, and about 8 or 9 other people most of them went on to be more famous than Frank, actually. But I just kind of wonder how he fit that gang under the salary cap. Frank Gardner's like the Melbourne Storm of bushrangers. But they did it, and they got away with so much, and it was horrible and it was terrible, and people lost their lives. But dollar for dollar, the biggest robbery in Australia's history. And of course, the stories are many about how much of the gold was still in the hills, and kind of occasionally used to go looking for it as a kid and a teenager. Lucky I didn't find it. Could never have been trusted with millions of dollars. You imagine me? Oh goodness. Far safer broke. And the story of Gardner's twin sons, because Frank was one of the very few bushrangers to live out to a ripe old age. He started it all in so many ways, that gold rush bushranging, and taught them all their trade, and suffered for it, but didn't suffer the ultimate punishment, and actually ended up living out his life in San Francisco. His twin sons came back and got the gold, I believe.
So the story goes.
So the story goes.
That's just to try and stop you looking for it anymore.
So, I wised up. I've loved this song since I was a kid. It's just one of those ones that gets under your skin. Probably sung it since I first grabbed the guitar. I reckon Frank wrote this too, or I've seen the version that's Frank's attributed to Frank Gardner, and it's certainly this song, but it's been touched up by, I imagine, by Bert Lloyd. I imagine that he was the one who got his hands on it. But I know some people get disappointed when we know who wrote a Bush song. Some people get very
Wait a
disappointed.
while.
Yeah, I know. Usual response is
Come back to me in 30 years.
yeah,
I won't remember.
I'll have forgotten. That's right. I've looked and looked for a song that no one wrote, but I haven't found it yet. It's just anyway, it's the morning of the fray. Yep. Oh, Rusty or Night. It's very nice to be singing. It really is. Before us, lads, we've got to do or die. So blacken up your faces before the dead of night. When it's over by you gather rocks, we'll either fall or fight. Or we'll stop the orange escort with powder and with ball. We'll shoot the coach to pieces and we'll down the pillars, or we'll lift the diggers' money. We'll collar all their gold. So mind your guns are killers. Now me comrades true and bold. Now you can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan and Ben Hall, but the bold and reckless Gardner, he's the boy to beat them. Go the rifles, the battle has begun. The escort started running, boys, all in the setting sun. The robbers seize their plunder, so saucy and so bold, and they're riding from Eugowra rocks encumbered with their gold. Now you can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan and Ben Hall, but the bold and reckless Gardner, he's the boy to beat them all. Hey! With savage laughter they left that fatal place. Well, they cried, we're strapped bonanza boys, we've won the steeplechase. And Frank Gardner, the darkie, he's shouting aloud, hooray! Oh, I think we've made our fortune at Chigala Rocks today. Now you can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan and Ben Hall, but the bold and reckless Gardner,
He's the boy.
you can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan and Ben Hall, but the bold and reckless Gardner.
He's the boy.
You can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan and Ben Hall, but the bold and reckless Gardner, he's the boy to beat them all. Oh, it never stops being fun, that one. It's nice. So many bushranger songs aren't happy, and it's just nice to do one with a bit of vibe to it too. Peace, everybody. Peace. I hope wherever you're locked down, that you're locked down okay. That it's that it's going easy as it can. We feel very lucky here. Our pain comes when the gigs go. We actually lock down very easily once the gigs are gone. So we're lucky in that sense. Second year in a row to watch all those gigs go was, I guess, when the virus first hit, the family got together and made a 2-year plan to try and avoid getting caught up in the hopes and wishes day to day. It's not easy, of course, because you've got to kind of get through, but I think it was a good idea. At least we're not too shocked, although...
By the 2-year plan, what you actually mean is that we're doing the homeschooling thing. And
Yep. And didn't really expect to have played as many gigs by now as I have. So it wasn't that many, but it was enough to remind me why I love it to bits. We've got about time for about 2 more, I think, Chloe. I think Chloe mentioned earlier, and I did too, that Bob Dylan turned 80 this year. Bob Dylan should have died when he was in his early mid-20s, really. I mean it. No, I don't mean I wanted him to, quite the opposite. But he really pushed himself very hard in the 60s. Just for a bit of context from my own perspective, I consider Bob Dylan the great artist of the 20th century, in any form. And I'll tell you what, having his first #1 at 79 and having it 17 minutes long, he's giving the 21st century a fairly good start too. #1 on the US charts, his last release, which is quite something. Anyway, it's okay if you don't like Bob Dylan, we can still talk. It's okay. But they were really enjoyable gigs. Some of the really most enjoyable gigs of my life at the Vic in Bathurst with some wonderful people. Bill Brown, who we've played with forever, and some people we've known for a long time but never really played music on stage that much. And a couple of people we'd never played with before. And we all played on all Bob's songs, and we thought we were going to just go turn for turn or something, but in the end we all wanted, the band came together for a couple of quick rehearsals at Bill's place. And anyway, this is one of the songs we sang for Bob's 80th, and we thought we might sing it for you tonight. Needless to say, Chloe wasn't on the mandolin at the Bob concert, so we just lost some of her finger. This one was on a 1978 record. It's not a record I actually knew very well until kind of got a bit older and got a copy of it. But I did hear this song on a different release where it came out at a different... still Bob, but... I'm not sure. A Biograph, I think it was. Biograph, like sort of one of those compilation things. Something I think most of us might feel like this, but I know I do. Since the virus come along, there's been a lot of fairly significant soul searching. We end up with we're very, very busy. We're as busy as we ever were, which tells me that that's our natural state. But it's not busy work as much anymore. The packing and the school, go off to school, come home school. There's things that can be fun, but generally can turn into a routine in your day that you kind of just get through rather than embracing. And then you wave goodbye to your kids at the best time of the day. It's been 18 months of looking at the bigger things in life and wondering what's important, and something in that idea, dare I use the word spiritual, seems to be lurking somewhere in Bob's song here.
Senor, can you tell me where we're headed? Lincoln County Road or Armageddon? Seems like I've been down this way before. Is there any truth in that, Senor? Senor, Senor, do you know where she's hiding? How long are we gonna be riding? How long must I keep my eyes glued to the door? Will there be any comfort there, Senor? There's a wicked wind still blowing on that upper deck. There's an iron cross still hanging down from around her neck. There's a marching band still playing in that vacant lot. Oh, she held me in her arms one time and said, forgive me, Senor, Senor. I can see that painted wagon, smell the tail of the dragon. Can't stand the suspense anymore. Can you tell me who to contact here, Senor? Well, the last thing I remember before I was stripped and needed was a train, a load of fools bogged down in a magnetic field. A gypsy with a broken flag and a flashing red. She said, son, this ain't a dream no more, it's the real thing. Senor, Senor, oh, you know their hearts is as hard as leather. Oh, give me a minute, let me get it together. Just gotta pick myself up off the floor. I'm ready when you are, Senor, Senor, Senor. Let's overturn these tables, disconnect these cables. This place don't make sense to me no more. Can you tell me what we're waiting for, Senor?
Happy birthday, Bob.
Thanks for all the fish.
I watched a show the other night that came in from America, which is Bob doing some film clips. Fantastic stuff. It was labelled The Early Years of Bob Dylan. It was a new release. He'd just done it just over the last few weeks. And the early years of Bob Dylan seemed to go right up to 1989, which scared the hell out of me. I think we're going to finish with one of Dengate's, Chloe.
Yeah, that one.
Australia, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Just changing the script a little bit, but I think this one feels somehow right. Thank you for joining us on Saturday Streaming 2021 style version 2.0, whatever the hell it is. Yeah, if anyone's got any suggestions, I don't know if the technology's been kind to you. Some people have said it's going really great, and to touch wood, that's been the case. We are keen to keep going, but perhaps the technology is the only thing that really ratted us out last year. And
Well, as the online world picks up again, we'll see
yeah,
what it's like.
yeah.
Anyway.
We got some things to explore about if it hasn't been.
But it is so nice to know you're all out there again. It really is nice.
If you're new, and I can see some. Hey, Mark. Oh, good on you, Mark. And you swallowed your F on ducking, I see, Mark. Swear away, mate. Peter Bennett, thank you, mate. David, yeah, oh, good, yeah. Well, I hope it is a nice way to spend a Saturday evening, especially when you can't be at the Mystic Park pub. But you know, welcome to your local Mystic Park pub. Thanks for joining us. It's free.
Terms and conditions, no.
It's kind of.
No, it is free. But thanks to all who felt like inspired to buy some music and make a donation.
Yeah, I don't know if you can read close.
Appreciate
Fancy
it.
new sign here. But it's got the website on it. I'll throw a link in anyway, so I can see some people have chipped in already. So that's it really. I mean, we got into a habit of saying it, but it's true. A little bit helps a lot, and a lot helps enormously. Yeah.
Does.
All right. Well, this is John Dengate's poem that he wrote for his dad. He was watching TV one night, television, the idiot box, with Norm Dengate, who just come home from work and was probably.
Are you going to play?
No, I think.
I'm just going to play? Okay.
Oh, I could probably play.
Alright.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. It's a beautiful tune, so I can't miss out on playing it. Yeah, John and Norm. Norm came home from his job, dusty and thirsty, no doubt. Taciturn sort of man, Norm, I imagine. I never met Norm. But,
Well, we had to live with John.
yeah, that's right. And Kit, my goodness, Kit, we lost Kit a couple of years ago. She outlived John so many years. Anyway, strong genes in that family. Kathleen Mary Kelly, she was formidable, but Norm also. And they were watching television one night, and the ABC News weather person, I think, referred to the northwestern New South Wales town of Taboobara.
Where?
Yeah.
We don't have any of that sort of stuff.
No, that's right. And Norm's reaction sparked this poem. I don't know if that stuff makes you as cranky as it makes me. But, our dear ABC. All right, so thanks for joining us. Here's John's poem with a tune, one of our very favourite bush tunes, called Harry Axford's Schottische. My father worked in a factory, and the sheet steel came from BHP. From a rolling mill near the Hunter's Mouth, or a Kembla furnace further south. The steel was all of the finest grade, and every inch was Australian made. Copper and bronze he shaped and wrought. The skills he possessed could not be bought. To his trade and his union he was true, and that was the life my father knew. And when his faults in heaven the angels weighed, they were all Australian made. The old stone GPO still stands, displaying the craft of my father's hands. I gaze with pride, and my heart responds when I see those fittings shaped in bronze. My father's work to the world displayed, and every ounce was Australian made. Through depression and war, he remained unbowed. He was kind, he was fiercely proud. Cant, privilege he despised. He was not a man to be patronised. He was not religious, he never prayed. His ethics were all Australian made. His speech had the twang of the gum tree vow. He watched TV with a brooding scowl. When the name of a town was mispronounced, he expressed disdain. Like a lion he pounced. His indignation was so keen, he threw his shoe at the TV screen. Now, if we beat the Poms in a cricket test, joy would reign and our home was blessed. But if we lost, the wall he'd stare, and we all felt touched by his dark despair. In his youth he had wielded the willow blade, and the runs he scored were Australian made. The only time my father cried was the night when old Ben Chifley died. When they buried Ben and the Dead March played, my father's grief was Australian made. Now my father's dead, as are his mates, with their hopes and fears, with their loves and hates. The different values now prevail. What was sacrosanct now is up for sale, for the global market requires free trade. Not me, mate, I'm Australian made. Bill McCoys, here we go. Tassie tune for you good Taswegians tuning in tonight. That's a Tasmanian mate. Actually, I think that's a Milford variation. Oh, sing around one more time, Chloe.
I think it's it.
Your mate's Bengali.
So, Tibooburra, in case you're wondering, I know I kept you waiting if you are wondering,
Tibooburra.
Tibooburra. Yeah. Hey, I really enjoyed that. I took a little bit during the week to think about how we might approach it, and I've really enjoyed it. It always feels good to have some company. I'm going to tune in now and say good day to you all. Happy to talk or more information about any of the songs. That's what I thought we might do a bit more of this year, is go a bit deeper on some interesting subjects within the, there's another 2 rooms full of books in the garage as well, and there's some really great stuff we could dig into and little theme stuff. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us. Saturday streaming 2021 style, and I hope the internet's been kind to you. Lock down safely, guys.
Yes, stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe, stay happy, and might see you soon. John Dengate, we did 2 of his tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Next Sunday, so a week tomorrow, in the afternoon, I'll put a link. It's going to be fantastic.
It's a John Dengate
Memorial.
celebration.
Yeah, memorial.
concert.
It's happened every year on the 1st of August. Horse's birthday. John died on Horse's birthday. So if you know John, knew John. Anyway, every year there's been a memorial concert. They were great live when we could get down for them. But it's so nice on Zoom. I hate to say it, but it really is.
Yeah,
You
it's great.
It's what we have, and I've seen who's coming, and
It's a lively crew.
it's a lively crew. It'll be funny, and it'll be something else. So that's something anyone can come to, and if you're intrigued about Mr. Dengate, or look, if you knew him, then you're coming anyway, right?
Yeah, just watch out for that one. I'm sure Jason will tell you about it during the week.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
We'll
night, folks.
disappear.
Yeah. See ya.
See you soon.
Stay well.